Hi, this is Sara Murray from the Razorleaf Corporation. In a previous post, we covered elements of user security in Autodesk PLM 360. In this video, we'll share best practices for user security and pitfalls to avoid, and offer the most efficient order in which to create the elements of user security. Incorporating these pointers can help you as an Autodesk PLM 360 administrator develop simple and easy to maintain user security. First of all, think about what business functions will be implemented in Autodesk PLM 360, made up of one or more workspaces, and then plan groups that will be the overall entry points for users into those business functions. Consider an example implementation that includes the following 5 business functions. Organize and name the groups per business function of the tool, rather than the business organization in which the user works, as you might think. To start with, let's look at what an engineer will need to create items in the system. They will need read-write or editor capability for product development and change management. This will allow the engineer to create items and bills of materials and create change orders to begin the process of releasing the items and BOMs. Thus, the following groups would apply to this use case. Now, for approvers of the change order, they would need just read capability for product development and change management in order to decide whether to reject or approve a change. You can think of this situation as the approvers having consumer rights to these areas, able to participate in the workflow, but without being able to change anything. So in this use case, the following groups would apply. As a special case, administrators need to have applicable admin rights to each area. There is one group for administrators that covers all areas in an Autodesk PLM 360 tenant, which is Admin Group. It follows that the other business functions in this example implementation would have groups for them set up as such. We start with groups because there is a time-saving shortcut in Autodesk PLM 360 to create a new role and add applicable permissions, and then save the permission changes and associate the new role to a group, each with one click. Following the group creation, there is also a built-in way to create a new user and add them to a group with one click. As a caveat, after you have created the role, included permissions, and associated the role to a group, you are done with that particular setup. So just click Save and don't go around the cycle again with the Save and Manage Permissions button. It bears repeating that, as the help guide lays out, it is best to use the convention of naming each role the workspace name followed by the type of access, read-only or read-write, in square brackets. Note that roles only apply to one workspace, whereas groups tend to cover all the workspaces in a given business function. The naming conventions for groups and roles discussed so far helps administrators quickly differentiate between elements of user security in the system. We have also found it helpful to include the company name or acronym in the role description. This comes in handy later on as the line between pre-built roles and the roles used in production becomes blurry. Doing so not only identifies the production-used roles, but also provides a mechanism to easily sort and locate them when needed. Lastly, we'll talk a little bit about workflow permissions. Most permissions are already built in, but workflow permissions are specific to one particular built workflow. As a best practice, minimize the number of workflow permissions in any given workflow. Start with one general permission assigned to every transition in the workflow. Then go back and carefully assess where additional workflow permissions may be needed to restrict, control, or block, for example. There may be a temptation to create workflow permissions just because one can, or even to create a new permission for each transition. However, the complexity of managing these workflow permissions and the roles in which they are included, then associating those roles with groups in a usable way, can really turn into a time trap for an administrator with limited value add. Another best practice is to dedicate one workflow role to one workflow permission, and then associate that role with the appropriate groups. With this structure, it is much easier to troubleshoot workflow access problems. To wrap up, here is what we have gone over. We hope this best practices video combined with the previous post gives you helpful ideas to apply when setting up access to a new area in your system. As folks at Autodesk will attest, our company was instrumental in developing several of the best practices now put forth in portions of the Autodesk PLM 360 Help Guide. Reference course number PL2429 from Autodesk University 2013. Please feel free to contact us if you would like to know more about Autodesk PLM 360 user security, best practices, or Autodesk PLM 360 in general. We would love to talk with you.